and I'm from Stem to Stern. Today we're going to show you how to assemble your own bird box. So here I have a finished one to show you. This is the goal at the end of our session. You can see the finished bird box with the top and the side and the front and the back and the bottom. So let's get started. Here you can see I've got spread out on my workbench all the parts for it. I have covered my workbench with some white paper to protect whatever's underneath it. You want to be careful of that just in case you spill some glue. I have the 6 pieces that will go together to make your birdhouse. There's the back, there's the bottom, which has 4 holes in it for ventilation. There's 2 sides, and they both have 2 holes at the top for ventilation. There is the front piece for the bird to go in and out, and there is the top, and the top has no holes at all. So we have 1 top, 1 bottom, 1 front, 1 back, 2 sides. The first thing that you should do is have on a pair of glasses. Safety glasses would be ideal. That way you're protecting your eyes in case something should get into them. We have a number of finishing nails that you will have in your kit. One end is pointed and the other end has a tiny head so that you can hardly see it. We have a brush for spreading glue. There's your ruler for taking a couple of measurements. The hammer for putting in the nails. The glue bottle for extra strength. And a spacer. And I will show you what that's used for later on. Number 1. Let us make sure that we've identified our parts. The front, which it has the oval hole in it for the bird, and the side panel. Those are the first 2 pieces that will go together. My suggestion is to have an extra pair of hands to help you out, just so that you're not fumbling with things while the glue's on there and you're trying to drive in your nails. If I'm trying to put these 2 pieces together, 1 front, 1 side, and again the side has the 2 holes up at the top for the ventilation. If this piece is going to go on here, I'm going to drive 3 nails into the front piece to go into the side. If I'm trying to get them started while I'm balancing this is all moving around and I'm trying to get the nail in there, this is all flopping from side to side, I find it easier to have the piece set down on my bench first and just get the nails started. Grab your hammer and 1 finishing nail, and we're just going to get the nails just started. Make sure you don't go through into your table below. And you can see that we're making the nail go straight in. Don't have it kind of falling from side to side. You want it to go straight in. And the other thing to watch for is to make sure that when the 2 pieces come together, that nail is going right down in the center of the side piece. So don't have it too far this way, it'll pop out that way. Don't have it too far this way, it'll pop out that way. You want to have it directly down into the center of this board. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the edge of my side panel. Not very much, just a very light coating. Grab your brush and spread that out. Take your front panel, set it down on the side, and you're making sure that it's even on the end here, it's even or flush on the side, and it's even or flush on the bottom. So let's get those lined up. This is where your helper might come in handy, and we're just going to drive in that first nail. Make sure that things aren't sliding around. Everything should be nice and even and flush. And don't hit it too hard in that one spot. You don't want to put a dent in your nice pine lumber. Have a look on the inside. Make sure that it didn't pop out so that you'll know what to do next time. And now we can go and add in the other 2 nails. I'm going to put 1 down near the very bottom. And I'm going to put 1 right in the center, just to make sure that we have good strength. Now it's going to sit much more stable because you have 2 pieces coming together in an L, so it kind of supports itself. The next thing we're going to do is add the top. The top is the piece that has no holes in it at all. And we're going to put it on so that it's even at the back and even at the side and overhang at the front. Take your glue bottle and put a little bit of glue along the top and a little bit along the side. It doesn't take much. You can see how much I put on there. I'm going to take my brush and just spread it out. Take your top panel, put it on so that it's flush at the back, flush at the side, overhanging at the front. A couple of nails to hold it in place. Again, have it close to the edge, but not too close, and make sure it goes straight in. And now we're going to tack it together towards the front. Grab another finishing nail, pointy side down, right into the side piece below. And now we'll spin it around this way because I want to put one in through the top to hold that into the front panel. So grab a nail, and again, you're looking to see that the nail goes straight down into that front panel. Now I'll spin it around this way. I've already put one in here to go into the front panel. Now I'm going to put one in here to go into the other side of the front panel. Now you can see how it's starting to look like your completed birdhouse. Next piece to put in is going to be the back. The back has no holes in it. It's the longest piece, and it's actually going to hang off the bottom, and it's going to hang off at the top. It's going to go right here to cover up the back. It has to overhang an even amount off of the bottom and overhang an even amount off the top. It should be about 2 inches on your model, so we'll just check on that. So that's where your back panel should go, flush with the outside edge. So again, remove your piece after you've test fit it. Grab your glue bottle. So I'm at the back edge of my top panel, and I'm at the back edge of my side panel. And those are the only two surfaces that you will apply glue to. Grab your brush, grab your back panel, put it back in place. Now you can see right here that I've got a gap under here. If I try to hammer on this with that gap under there, it's going to kind of bounce around a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is check my measurement and make sure that I have that even overhang, 2 inches and 2 inches. And then to stop that bouncing, I'm going to put it over here and have it hang off the end of my bench so that it sits flat. So that overhanging top panel is going to overhang the edge of my bench. And that way this thing is going to sit nice and flat and nice and stable. Grab one of your nails, and we're going to put it in near the bottom edge. Double check that you have your 2-inch overhang. So nothing moved, so we'll finish putting it in. Now we'll do one at the other end. Again, put it down into the side panel. And as before, because it's a very long run, I'm going to put one right in the center, just for strength. Now that I have them along the back edge, I'm going to put them along the edge of the top. 2 should be enough in here because it's a very short run. Grab your finishing nail, and we'll put one on the one end. And we'll put one on the other end. Again, look for the right location to make sure it doesn't split out that way or that way. If it bends over a little bit, you can straighten it up and then finish it. So you can see how that nail started to bend a little bit while I was trying to nail it in. If it bends, don't keep hammering it because we don't want that nail in there like that. Pull it out or straighten it up and then finish the nail going in. The next thing is to add the bottom panel. And we're going to put the bottom panel towards the bottom of the birdhouse. It has the 4 holes in it for ventilation. It's the smallest piece. And it's going to fit right in there like so. You can see where that fits. Now, the one thing to watch for on the bottom panel is the bottom panel isn't going to sit right flush with the bottom of the birdhouse. It's set in a little bit. You can see there's a bit of an overhang here, and there's an overhang here, so it's set in a little bit. The reason for that is when we go to put on the other side, the side's going to sit on here like so, and the side is going to pivot up and down like this, so that each spring you can open up the side panel and you can clear out the nesting material from the year before, and then you can close it back up again. So if we have the bottom set up inside a little bit, that gives us this finger hold right here, and that's going to allow us to be able to open and close the side. How are you going to decide how far in to place that? That's where your spacer comes in. The spacer is a very thin piece of plywood. We're going to put that in place, and we're going to move the bottom up and down with that spacer sitting in there. So when that spacer is flush with the bottom, that means that the bottom itself is sitting in the right location, and then we can let that fall away. We don't need it anymore. So we've set the bottom panel in by the thickness of the spacer. Grab your nail, figure out where the nail is going to go so that it doesn't split out in the wrong direction, that way or that way or that way. It has to go straight down through the front into the bottom. Put a little bit of pressure down on it to make sure that your bottom panel here doesn't move around on you. Now we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to add another nail. And again, make sure it's in line with the bottom so that it doesn't split out. And now we need to drive a couple of nails into this side, into the bottom panel as well. Make sure it hasn't moved. Lie it on its other side. Grab your nail. And again, we're going to go straight down into the bottom. Now, if you're not sure where to put this nail because you can't tell where the bottom is, the spacer went in here. And the spacer showed you how far in you put that bottom. If you take your spacer and you put it on top of the side, you can see where the bottom is. Because that means that the bottom starts right here and goes up this way, right? This is the same thing you used on the inside to make sure it was the right distance up. If you take that same spacer and you put it on top of the outside, that's going to show you where to place your nail so that it goes into that bottom panel. Same thing on this end, making sure it hasn't moved. Put your bottom on there to act as a spacer. Now you know where the bottom is on the other side. Once you've marked its position, you can drive in that last nail. So, there you have the completed birdhouse, except for the other side panel. Now it's time to put on the second side. The second side is just a little bit shorter than the first side. And the reason why it's shorter is so that when you're flipping open your side door here to clean out your box, it doesn't bind up on the top. If this was right up here against the top and you tried to flip that open, it would get stuck. So we move it down just a little bit. There's going to be just a slight opening in there. It's going to be a slight gap. When you're trying to figure out where to position this, you position it so that it's flush at the bottom. When it's flush at the bottom, then you'll have this slight gap up at the top. Now, the question is where to put your two pins or your pivot points here to allow the side to open and close properly. To figure that out, we want one pivot point to go here and one pivot point to go here. You want that pivot point to be halfway, as we've been saying all the way along, halfway between here and here. That's where it's going to go in. And you want it to be down from the top edge, down from here, 3/4 of an inch. So if you look where the underside of the top panel is, from there, you want to go down 3/4 of an inch. So you're going to measure in halfway here for the thickness of the piece in behind it. The easiest way to do that, which we did not mention before, is you can use this spacer, which is exactly that amount. Put that on there. That will give you the distance to come in. You could even put a line on there. And then you want to come down from the underside of the top 3/4 of an inch. Well, how far is that? Well, it's actually the thickness of the rest of your pieces. This. If you put this under here and put a line under there, that's how far down you want that line to be. So, just to review that. How far in to make your line? Use the thin spacer. Put that on there and mark it on the inside edge. How far down? Use one of your other pieces, which is your side panel that you haven't used yet. Put it under there and put a mark under there. So you have a line going this way and a line going this way, and that's where your nail will go. Now on the back side, it's a little trickier because you have to go from this point here, again the underside of your top piece, down that 3/4 of an inch. So take your piece, put it under there like so, and that's going to show you the location for the pin on the back side, just under there. So take your lid, put it under there. Where the bottom of this panel crosses here on your back side, that's where that other pin will go. So again, you can just take your pencil and you can put a line across there where the bottom of that piece would cut across. So those are your two center points for your pivots. So I'm going to get them started. I'm going to take one nail and I'm going to position it on that pivot point on my front. And I'm going to get it started. Again, it has to go straight in. And then the same thing on the back side, where I have that pivot point I just marked. I'll put another pin. And those are my two pivots. One coming in from the front, one coming in from the back. I take my side panel, which I have not used yet. I put it into position. It's going to be flush at the bottom edge and flush at the front edge. Now you can see here that I hung this off the edge of my bench again. And the reason for that is I put my nail in first. And I didn't want it sitting like this because then my nail would be on the bench. So I overhung it like this so that the nail could overhang the bench. It would probably be easier if you didn't put this nail in until after you had this one in. Now we'll flip it over. And we'll finish the nail on the back side. So, the bottom is flush with the other pieces. You have a slight gap here, which is so that it will pivot open. You can grasp underneath here and you can pivot this piece up so that you can clean out the inside of your birdhouse. And then once it's cleaned out, you can pivot this piece back down again and your birdhouse is done. If you're concerned about this side piece opening and closing when you don't want it to, you could add one more nail into the front right here and tap that in. But you don't want to tap it all the way in so that it's flush, because you want to be able to pull it back out again. So you could take this nail, you could put it into the front face of your birdhouse, you could nail it in until it goes all the way in so it's just sticking up a little bit so you can grasp it with a hammer. So at the end of the season, you can just pop that nail out, you can open this up, you can clean out the inside, you can close it back up, and you can tap that nail back in there again for the next season. And now you're done. Take it outside, nail it onto a tree, and wait for the birds. Take care.